This is kind of part of an effort or a series that we're undertaking, kind of looking at the outlook for Nebraska, both crop and livestock producers. And we've talked crop producers before and how things look fairly good for them this year. It's not quite the same story on the beef side of things. And we tried to look at both the cow-calf sector, our ranch sector, that's a big sector in our beef economy here in the state, or cattle economy, but also the feedlot sector as well too. I took some information from the University of Nebraska and looking at budgeting and tried to update the numbers in it and forecast prices, assumed the typical north central Nebraska 400 cow ranch, and made some simple assumptions and just ran through the numbers, and it didn't come back too well for if you're a cow-calf guy in the state. It looked like forecasting it maybe a loss of over $200 per cow. And that kind of surprised me a little bit because feeder cattle prices are better this year than compared to last year. But we got higher costs this year because of the higher grain and higher forage prices. I know some of our ranchers are dealing with some drought conditions. And so those are all adding up, and the markets haven't come back to where they need to be to show a profit. And I compared that with some analysis that K-State had done as well, and they showed losses of over $300 per head for a typical Kansas cow-calf operation. So it looks like even though prices are better this year for feeder calves, just some other conditions are tough right now for the cow-calf producer. Then on the feedlot side, it's a little different picture, and this doesn't take into consideration hedging or any marketing that they might do. It's just on a cash basis. But they were showing some gains in the first part of the year, which is positive, but then those turned negative here in the last half of the year going into early 2022. And largely that's because fat cattle prices are pretty stagnant right now, and the feeding costs have gone up quite a bit with the corn prices and the like. So that's a bit of a mixed story. On the one hand, when you look at the overall big picture, we got the crop sector that's going to do fairly well, but we have the cattle sector that's not going to quite do well. So overall, kind of a mixed result for the state. Pork prices, or hog prices, are really doing quite well right now. In fact, they're getting to a level almost near the fat cattle per hundredweight basis. And you don't see that very often, but it just shows that the little difference in the nuances in the markets between the two right now. One of the positive aspects across all the proteins right now, pork, cattle, they're particularly important for Nebraska, but poultry as well. Exports are just going crazy right now. There's big demand in China. China's driving, like the crop side, China's driving some stuff on the protein side as well. They're having issues with African swine fever and their growing population. Pork is their number one protein, their number one meat. So they're importing a lot of pork, but they're also, because of the shortages of pork, they're importing more beef as well now too. So we got a lot of beef going into China, Japan, and Asia. So the good part is that if you're a cattle producer, the demand for beef is very, very strong right now. Not only export markets, but domestically as well too, with restaurants opening back up and people getting out and about. So that's good. The problem is how cattle differs from pork a little bit is we've got a lot of animals out there, and our capacity to process those animals is at its max right now. We're going to have to work through some of these inventories, and so there's going to be a bit of a damper holding down prices for maybe middle part into the late year. Once we work through these inventories, maybe things will start to pick back up again.